It's real simple. If you don't invest, if you don't spend it where what I call low-hanging fruit are your likely voters, they're going to keep losing. And I tell people, listen, I have never self-identified as a Republican or a Democrat, as a liberal or progressive or conservative. I'm black. And I just look at black interests. And the reality is, if I'm speaking to black interests, they ain't going to happen going through the Republican Party. But Democrats had better realize they're going to keep getting their asses handed to them if they ignore or treat black people the same way they historically have done.
Well, first, Roland, thank you so much for having me on your platform. You are the only person in media who has consistently welcomed me back on your platform over and over. So I want to say thank you and happy anniversary. What's really interesting with what the congressman just said and then what you're saying is that, okay, so we're talking to strategists. We're talking to Terrence Woodbury. He's doing the polling. He's saying, hey, you need to talk and segment out black folks. That's great, but what are you going to talk about? We have hit the 200-day mark of the Trump administration. Trump told us last year through Project 2025 what he was going to do in the first hour, first 24 hours, the first 50 days, the first 100 days, the first 200 days, and now they're telling us what they're doing in the next 200 days. So why haven't we heard from the opposition party, allegedly, they're supposed to be the opposition party, why haven't we heard, hey, give us the House back and we'll tell you what we're going to do to stop what's happening in this current administration? And by the way, give us some of the governorships that are up next year, and we'll tell you what we'll do state by state. Like I am seeing today that California, Oregon, and Washington State is saying they're going to fight back against RFK Jr. And actually have a pact to make sure that there's actually vaccines in America, because by the way, they're safe. And by the way, black folks, a lot of black people actually invented some of these vaccines that we're using today that's saving millions of lives. So my point is, what is the affirmative message that we're going to hear from the opposition party? Why aren't they outlining it now? Give us a reason to vote. And then give us a reason to vote for you. And so you could say, oh, we need to segment people out and talk to them, but talk to them about what? Start that messaging today. I'm not just talking about surface level messaging of Trump is bad, but give me policy.
The thing is this, right? Republicans did that. Like, Democrats are playing catch up, but this is exactly what Republicans did going back to 2015, 2016. I was sitting down with vendors like L2, Cambridge Analytica, that were going out and buying every data point possible on Americans and taking those data points and literally formulating thousands, not tens, not hundreds, literally thousands of variations of different ads to say, okay, look, we know these 20 people on this block and this precinct care about this little minute issue. And we're going to make sure every time they open up Facebook, they see an ad with this candidate and that issue.
The Trump PAC in January, February, and March were running ads on black radio stations in Michigan, Ohio, Georgia, that included transgender messaging.
Yes.
And I remember sending a text message to the deputy campaign manager for the Harris campaign, who's black. And they literally said, oh, we've looked at it, and then even later, we don't believe this is going to move the needle. And I said, y'all are idiots. So what happened was they were testing the messaging on black radio in the first quarter. And that's why those commercials, and that's why Charlemagne and DJ Envy, that was included in the commercial. And then when the election was over, the Trump folks said that was their second most effective commercial. And if you watch any college or NFL game,
you saw that kind of commercial?
Dude, I was in Ohio, Wisconsin, Georgia, was one more battleground state, and North Carolina. I saw that ad a minimum of 6 times during halftime. Halftime. They understood. All they had to do was move anywhere from 1.5 to 3.7%.
But Roland, that's the thing, right? Elections, people think that elections are big swaths, right?
No.
When you talk about voter suppression, they think, oh my gosh, like everybody's vote being suppressed. No, elections are a game of margins. It's, hey, I know this is my win number, this is what I need to win, this is what that margin needs to be, and how do we get there? And that's what Republicans do it very well. They figure out that margin, figure out who to peel off, whether it's black men this cycle, whether it's white women that cycle, whether it's the young white man the next cycle, and figure out that margin. And that's what Democrats have to, if Democrats want to be competitive going forward, you got to figure out where you could peel votes off on the margin and then build on those margins and cater and give those people whatever the hell they want.
But what it was, Michael, go ahead, go ahead.
So no problem. And when my father was chair of the party, that's how Clinton won. The strategy was, first, are you going to bring, he said to the governor, are you going to bring a gun to a gunfight?
Yep.
Not a knife like Dukakis did. And are you going to try to figure out those margins that you were talking about? So when my father was chair, he was the first, Ron Lester, who we all know, had always been a subcontractor.
Hold on, first off, everybody's like, Ron Brown was your father.
Yes.
Ron Lester was Democratic pollster.
Correct, thank you. Ron Lester had always been a
Everybody like, Ron Lester had a son named Michael? Go ahead.
But he did do my polling when I ran for office.
All right.
But he had some choice things to say to me too. But he made sure that Ron was a general contractor, not a sub.
There you go.
So that way, that gave Ron the ability to start passing out to smaller pollsters that could grow and become. And that data was so important on where black folks were relative to Governor Clinton and against, and most Mount Rushmores of Republicans. Ronald Reagan is on their mountaintop. George Bush was that vice president. He should have won that election. But because of the strategy.
If Perot hadn't been in it? Because
I don't know. I mean,
people seem to forget that Bill
did not
win.
He did peel off, no question.
No Perot, probably Bush gets a second term.
Possibly. But he was in the race. So
I'm just saying in terms
the Bushes,
of success.
Bushes should have gotten him out of the race. No, correct.
But
this wreck is going the way it's going.
But the thing here, Reese, again, that I'm gonna go back to what the Trump folks did. By running that stuff in January, February, and March, they weren't waiting till September. They were seeding. They were seeding. They were watching the data and see what the impact was. And it was kind of like, oh, peel. And then when I look at what Jen O'Malley Dillon, and I'm going to keep calling her name, and Stephanie Cutter, and David Plouffe, and Quentin, and all of them. Oh, let's just dump millions into concerts, as opposed to just drilling hard, going in and buying up everything on black radio, everything on black digital, everything on black television. But no, it was kind of like, but the assumption, they're gonna come out. And I keep saying, I kept telling everybody, by the third year of Obama, no black national candidate can run the Obama playbook ever again. It won't work. You have got to run differently to turn out black people, because the person who was 10 years old when Obama got elected is now 27. It ain't the same person.
I'm not even gonna get into the black part of all that. I will say that I was on Chicago Public Talk Radio in 2023, and I went to Twitter right after, and I said, "Woo, child, we got work to do," because all I heard from the callers, black callers, was trans and immigration shit. So this had been a cumulative act, and that's one thing that Republicans understand that Democrats don't. Republicans know how to make a thing a thing. It doesn't start out at day one as being the thing. It starts as day one as being like, I don't know nobody cares. But by the first year, the second year, the couple of months, everybody's talking about DI ain't shit, CRT. Then we're explaining, well, CRT is at the college level. By then, it's a non-starter. So the Republicans know how to build, how to stick with something and make it the thing that everybody is talking about. Democrats, like you pointed out, we don't think it's moving the needle. So they let shit fester, or they have things that they should be hammering, but they don't because, this focus group didn't say they cared. This focus group didn't blame Trump for COVID. Well, fuck, that's the biggest fuck up that we've seen in recent decades was COVID. And now we have RFK Jr., who is saying that you can't get the COVID vaccine, who's undoing vaccine access across the board, even though this was Donald Trump's achievement. And so Democrats always want to just think that they're gonna have that silver bullet, and they just refuse to invest in making something the thing that people in this country care about. The only person I can say, and I hate to give him any credit, is Bernie Sanders. He drove home this Medicare for all shit, even though he Columbused it from John Conyers. I like to remind people that because they call black people neoliberal
You said
shit.
Columbused it from?
From John Conyers, Representative John Conyers. All his progressive shit came from black progressives. But he's built it home. And during the Biden-Harris administration, it was the progressives who was driving home. Today will be a good day to cancel student debt. And then when the Supreme Court said, no, thanks, bitch, they dropped it. And so...
As opposed to continue to make it a thing.
Look, you know, if Republicans get in, your student debt is coming back with a vengeance. And so Democrats need to learn how to stick with something. They need to learn how to make a thing, but that takes investment. That takes more than a talker's call. That takes more than a couple people on TikTok. No shade. Yeah, it does.
Dude, been telling them for months.
You got two elections in 60 days, one in Virginia and one in New Jersey. Mm-hmm. They should be that's your battleground to test everything for next cycle. Well, I think people forget in 09 and 2010, I was 19, 20 years ago, so bear with me a little bit. But what I do remember is that what I saw every day on TV were Republicans running around talking about death panels, take away your health care. Now, all this shit was bullshit and lies, but it was enough festering for 2 whole years that by the time November 2010 rolled around, people were voting on, okay, grandma might have to face the death panel. Right. That, you know, her health care was not going to be paid for. And then this black guy in a tan suit's going to take away health care from all of us in general.
I want to
Randy, real quick.
Republicans play off of emotions, and that's the part. And we want to have logical conversations. Yeah. Like they will find a place that people are fearful, and just run with that. They make a thing exactly like you said. Whereas Democrats, we will sit there and say, well, let's explain what CRT is. No, they're wrong. Let us explain what DEI is. No, you have to deal with people's emotions and challenge. And Republicans do a brilliant job of that, of scaring people.
Real quick, go.
It's a dark intel perspective. Yeah. Like what you want to do is you want to understand pressure points. Like when you think about our enemies, when you think about Russia, when you think about China, they understand us better than we understand us. So the one thing that they're going to tug on, I'm going to go back to a Brittany Griner example, how that dovetails with foreign policy and blackness. Brittany Griner was the perfect person to put in jail because they knew they put Biden up against the wall. It's like, okay, what you gonna do with your black gay woman here? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna give up to get her out? What are you gonna sacrifice? Right. That was a very interesting move. So my point is, because I'm about to get the finger, my point is that it's about understanding pressure points where Democrats, they don't necessarily approach messaging from that perspective. Right. It's the always playing catch up, always explaining, but it is a different way from understanding how to trigger people's emotionality.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.